Hello, everyone. Glad you're here. I have a question for you to start with. Do you believe in you? Do you believe in you? You know that Albert Einstein did not speak until he was 4 years old. He was storing up all that wisdom, I guess, for it to come out later. And he didn't read until he was 7. And his parents and teachers worried about his mental ability. And Beethoven's music teacher said, as a composer, he is hopeless. What if young Ludwig had believed that? When Thomas Edison was a young boy, his teacher said he was so stupid he'd never learn anything. He once said, I remember I used to never be able to get along at school. I was always at the foot of my class. My father thought I was stupid, and I almost decided that I was a dunce. What if young Thomas believed what they had said about him? When F.W. Woolworth was 21, he got a job in a store, but was not allowed to wait on customers because, according to his boss, he didn't have enough sense. I wonder if the boss was around when Woolworth became one of the most successful retailers of his day. When the sculptor Rodin was young, he had difficulty learning to read and write. Today, we may have said he had a learning disability. But his father said of him, I have an idiot for a son, and his uncle agreed he's uneducable. What if the boy had believed him? A newspaper editor once fired Walt Disney because he was thought to have no good ideas. The great Italian tenor Caruso was told by one music teacher, you can't sing. You have no voice at all. And an editor once told Louisa May Alcott, just a few years before she wrote the classic Little Women, that she was incapable of writing anything with popular appeal. So do you believe in you? History will long praise these famous people. But you know what? Nobody knows who the people were that told them they couldn't do it. Their names did not go down in history. So it's not what you are, it's what you don't become that hurts. All of those unfulfilled dreams that you may still have, as we say today, on the back burner, just simmering along. And that expression, by the way, you know, the wooden stoves had the burners on top, and the burners in the back, they kept at a lower temperature. They cooked on the ones in the front, but the ones in the back just sort of got heat from the front part of the stove. And so the things that they weren't cooking and paying attention to at the moment got put on the back burner. And so that's how that expression came to be today. And I think most of us, I know, even though I know I've accomplished a lot, and I'm sure you have also, there's still something on the back burner. Something for us to express, something that the divine mind wants to bring out into the world. There's something still there. So we all have more potential. And you know, I call it divine potential. It's that unexpressed or divine discontent. When we know, even though we've done many things, there's always something more. There's always something the divine always wants to express in more ways through us. And each of us has that potential. So we need to pay attention to it. And just the very fact that we have that feeling and that we know that this is not all there is more, is a message to us that it can be fulfilled. It's a message to us that we have that infinite potential, and yes, we sometimes get out of our own way. Anybody here ever feel like you're in your own way? I know I have. So we need to get out of our own way. We need to take our life out of layaway, if you will. Take it out of layaway and get on with whatever it is that we're feeling that urge to do. And a couple of weeks ago, I gave a talk about what if you knew you couldn't fail at all? What would you be doing? What would you be doing? Because, see, many prosperity teachers tell us that when we have an idea that we can move forward with, it's a message that it's possible. If it weren't possible, we wouldn't have the idea. So it's important for us to listen to ourselves, to believe in ourselves, if you will, and not listen to a lot of comments that perhaps are not encouraging toward us. I was counseling a woman this past week, and one of her major concerns was what other people were saying about the plans that she had, that she felt were so perfect for her. And how do you stop listening to what other people have to say? Well, one way is to keep your ideas, keep your newborn ideas protected. Keep them protected. It's sort of like an incubation period. Sometimes if we let things out too soon, when we're not convinced about them, and other people poo-poo them, then we start thinking, wow, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe it's not a good idea. Whatever it is. So one of the things that's important metaphysically is to know that any new idea needs protection. It's like that shell. It's like an egg. There's a shell around the egg. And it's there for a purpose. And until that chick is ready to crack the shell and come out, that shell is necessary. So it's up to us to listen to our intuition and to protect those new ideas as we come in. And one way that we can keep in tune with our spiritual being is to be with like-minded people, to be with friends and people who are going to support us in whatever it is that we have decided to do. people who understand what it is that we're trying to do and to support us into it. We have many hands but one heart is the topic today, and here's a story that illustrates that. There's a story of an old African king who knew that he was making his transition, and he called all of his children and grandchildren and all of their spouses and everyone in the family, called them all together, and he gives each of them a short stick. And he says, break the stick. So each one of them took the stick, and fairly easily they broke it. They broke the stick that they had. He says that's how it is when a soul goes it alone in the world. They can all be broken when you're alone. When we're without spiritual community, and it doesn't have to be an organized church, although it could be. It could be this group. It could be other groups. It could be just people you know in your life that are there to support you in whatever it is you decide to do. Okay, so each person then breaks the stick fairly easily, and they're thinking, well, there's nothing to that. So then the old man gives each of them another stick and some twine. And he says to them, bind your sticks together in bundles of 2, 3s, 4s, 5s, and break those bundles in half. Well, as you might imagine, no one could break the bundles when all of the sticks were tied together. And upon seeing this, the old man smiled and said, we are strong when we stand with another soul. When we are with another, we cannot be broken, and this is how I would like you to live when I am gone. So that was his message and his wishes for his relatives. So we're strong when we stand with one another, when we are with one another and have that spiritual support. It cannot be broken, you see. In the Eastern traditions, there's a word that defines community, and it's called Sangha. And Sangha is a community of individuals dedicated to creating and sustaining an environment that nurtures and supports reverence, mindfulness, and spirituality as a lifestyle. I'm thinking what Shirley MacLaine said, and I got this on Facebook. Said Shirley MacLaine said, you only need 3 things in life: fresh, clear water, a good hat that protects you from the weather, and a good pair of sturdy shoes. And if you can have those 3, you're in good shape, and I tend to agree with her, especially the shoes. Oh. So Sangha is a feeling of safety. It's like when you're with some friends who are very supportive of you, or family who are very supportive of you, or a spiritual group who's very supportive of you. There's something there that builds your soul, builds your spirit. And that's what we all yearn for. We all yearn for fulfilled spirit. There was a group once that met once a week, and what they didn't say, how are you doing? The question they asked each other is, how's your soul today? How's your soul today? What's going on with your soul? Are you feeding it? Are you nurturing it? Are you being kind to yourself? Or are you just playing the woulda, shoulda, coulda game with yourself? Thinking of all the things you coulda, woulda, shoulda done and didn't. It's time to be gentle with ourselves. It's time to be kind. Like the Dalai Lama, when asked what his religion was, and I love this, and he simply says, kindness, with that big smile. Kindness. That's it, folks. Be kind one to another. And so we get that spiritual support when we're with people who are in the same frequency that we are. See, everything in life is energy. And that's why some people leave our lives and some people come into our lives. It's because the ones who go out of our lives no longer match the energy that we have. And so as we evolve and create new energy, we attract other people into our lives who have that similar energy, and so it goes. And one of my teachers said, if you're with the same people for 40 years, you're in big trouble because of that. Now, that's not always true, of course, because some people may be evolving with you. And then that's, of course, a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yes, absolutely. And Ernest Holmes says, there is something in us that longs for the sympathetic understanding, the kindly response, the sense of presence, which is warm, pulsating, and colorful. We must have it. And I sense that as we meet each other in love and friendship, in the warmth of a handshake and in good fellowship, it is God. What else could it be? The hand that gives is the hand of God. And the eye that sees is the eye of God. In each other, through each other, we contact God. The science of mind, as you know, teaches that each one of us is an individualized expression of the one power and presence. And so there is the divine within each person. Now, in some people it may be more disguised than others, but it's still there. Each person is a divine being. And so if we can look at life in that way and know that everyone is divine and that whoever we are with, it's good that we can support them. So I'm going to ask you another question. Who rekindles your spirit? What do you do when you feel depressed or maybe just depleted? Just depleted. I've felt that way on occasion. I need to restore my soul, to refresh my soul. And so I ask you, who reunites your spirit? And there's a story of an insightful woman who lived through numerous dark nights and days. I appreciate your life, your outlook on life, I commented to Mrs. Tucker. I was in my 20s. She was 50 years older at the time. But she became a significant teacher for me. I learned from her remarkable attitude and her unshakable strength of character. And I said, how did you do it? And she said, well, I've been through a lot of tough times. In fact, sometimes it was awfully hard for me and my husband. He couldn't always find work. Some days he'd come home horribly depressed and say, things are so bad, I don't know if I can take it. And I would say to him, well, you know, things could be worse. And once he said, I've heard that so many times, you know, I think I'm going to die. Later he confessed that if I hadn't said those things to him, he wouldn't have been able to make it. So he needed me during those times. And that's the kind of support that we're talking about. Albert Schweitzer said, sometimes our light goes out, but is blown into flame by another human being. Sometimes our light does go out, but is blown into flame by another human being. And each of us owes deepest thanks to those who have rekindled this light within ourselves, who has helped us rekindle this light during difficult times. So who rekindles your light? Who blows your light into flame when it threatens to flicker out? Sometimes it's a relative, a teacher, a pastor, a friend, a spouse. Few people who can go through life without needing that. And so I admire some people for the brilliance, and I respect others for their strength. But I'm always indebted to those who rekindle my flame. Let me suggest that each of us be that person for someone else. Let me suggest that we be that person to rekindle a flame, first for ourselves, and then for anyone else who may be around us that needs it.